Hello, welcome to our podcast, the Builder of Choice podcast. We are very excited to have you back with us today. Today, I have a special guest, Lake Coulson, the Senior Vice President for Government Affairs and Chief Lobbyist for the NAHB. So we are very excited to have him here with us. There's so many amazing things that are happening, and it's good to get some insight and learn a little bit more from Coulson. So welcome, Coulson. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Emma Jane, thanks for having me. Thanks for putting me on the Builder of Choice podcast. As you mentioned, I'm the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs for the National Association of Home Builders. I'm also their chief lobbyist. So I've been here around 14 years and loving what I do and advocating for housing policies. And if you can't get excited about advocating for the American dream, you're definitely in the wrong business. So it's great to be with you.
Oh, thank you. And we're so lucky. I know a lot of the builders that follow the Builder of Choice and the Shinn Group are the kind of people who are extremely passionate about home building. I know in many of our builder groups, that's one of the things we talk about, particularly the private home builder, how excited they are to be building for their buyers and really understanding what their buyers are looking for. And they're passionate about making sure that they're getting the right price for them as well. So that's some of the issues that we have facing in the world today. But so real quickly, let's have a couple questions for you. Can you
Please.
walk us through your path from your early career into government affairs and ultimately your role in the NHB? How did you land here?
I've been in a number of construction related trade associations. My path getting here, I was actually an economist coming out of college. And I was with a trade association that was going through a restructuring. And depending on what your focus and your emphasis was at the time, was where you ended up. And so be it. I ended up at the Government Affairs Department for a trade association and went back. I did my master's in public policy, not too far from here at the University of Maryland at College Park. As I mentioned, I've been with the National Association for about 14 years. So loving every minute of it. And I just enjoy what our members do. And my path and my career has been, again, in a number of trade associations that are directly or indirectly connected to housing. So that's kind of how I got here.
That's great. It's funny, Chuck, our founder, kind of stumbled into home building. He started his career with NAHB back in the 60s and came out of school with an economist degree in an MBA in international business. And the only place he could find a job at that time was at NAHB as an economist. And he's like, I never left home building because it's such an amazing industry. The people, what we do, the complexity, just everything about home building has been
Yeah.
fascinating for him and Emma all these years. So it's kind of fun to hear that you stumbled into home building kind of the same way. You're like, well, this is kind of where I'm at. Would
Our
you would you
Emma
agree it's a
Jane,
disease?
our members are terrific. Salt of the earth. You know,
Yes.
if you can't enjoy the company of a home builder, I think you definitely belong elsewhere because our members provide shelter and housing, and I don't know that there's anything much more relevant in the world today than making sure we have access to safe, decent, and affordable housing for all Americans.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yes, I completely agree and agree about the salt of the earth. I tell because I'm usually the only woman in the room in
Yeah.
most of the events I go to, and I'm like, I'm surrounded by a bunch of brothers. Like, I feel like I'm family wherever I go with all of these home builders. They're just amazing people. I would like to see more women out there. So all you ladies, continue with professional women in building, continue joining us in the home building industry. It's a great industry. Um, Tell me what initially drew you to housing policy and trade association work? What was it that drew you to that
You
particular?
know, it really, Emma Jane, it was by luck. It really was. I was at one of the associations I started with really right out of college. I just got the manufacturing production of electrical equipment, um, and energy, and so be it, those types of manufacturers. That translated then later into work of electrical contractors. And I just got the kind of the fever then, and had just been surrounded by companies that help build the American dream. So that's how I got started.
I love it. I love it. We were talking earlier, and we were talking about how you're so busy with all, especially when the House and Congress are in session, and
Yes.
you're on the Hill on a regular basis. So tell me,
Yes.
what are some of the top three policy issues you're currently pushing on the Hill for home builders?
Sure. The top three. So, we're desperate for workers. The workforce shortage issue. If speaking of economists, Rob
Mhm.
Dietz is our chief economist. Rob estimates that we are anywhere between 200,000 and 400,000 workers short of where we need to be today to be building the American dream. So, working to find a way to provide skills training. That there is a bill that we lobbied for called the Constructs Act, and Senator Jackie Rosen from Nevada is the sponsor of that, with Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. It's a bill that would provide residential skills training, and it would be through the Department of Labor that these grants would be available. Through the results of our lobby day, I'm pleased to say we picked up another couple of co-sponsors to the legislation. That was the first issue that we talked about. We look at the impact of regulation on our industry, and I
Mhm.
believe the data would suggest we're about 23.8% of the cost of a home is tied to regulatory and code compliance. So we went to Capitol Hill to talk about a rule that is affecting. Um, the rule came out from HUD and the USDA that would require all financing through those two agencies to have to meet the 2021 International
Mhm.
Energy Conservation Code. And as builders, they look at the cost of code compliance, and
Yep.
it's very expensive to meet to that standard, to meet to that code. So we talked on the Hill with how we could um, reduce that regulatory burden. Um, we've also heard from a number of states the burden of an all electric electrification
Mhm.
universe, and we know that we have buyers. We know that we have builders that want to produce homes that use natural gas.
Mhm.
And we talked about legislation called the Energy Choice Act that would prevent states from implementing legislation and regulation that would limit the use of natural gas in their states. The last issue that I list in my group of three here is tax policy.
Mhm.
And I'm pleased to report the passage for our members of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, I should say, not to leave that off. Many beneficial housing tax provisions. Um, so we had those are really the Emma Jane. Those are the three or four key issues. I can expand on any of those more, but to the question, the top four issues for our association, as featured in our annual fly-in back in June. Those would be the top priorities.
Wow. And we work with our builders in some builder groups, and all of those things are all issues for them. They're all talking about labor. We've had
Yeah.
several discussions on how do we and so I'd like to have a little discussion here on this piece, because I think a lot of times builders think their hands are tied with policies that are created at a national level and even at a state or local level, that they don't really have any impact on that. So some of the things we talk about in our builder group meetings is like, how can we help educate the youth that are coming out of high school that there are other opportunities for them that isn't necessarily the standard path? Like, can we get more trade schools involved? How do we get the trades involved at a younger age and getting kids excited about being part of a labor force?
I so speak that language. I so wish there was a way that we could educate the young society members that you have potential, so much opportunity. Um, for there's taking nothing away from the 4 years or master. I'm a product of that myself,
Mhm.
but the opportunities that exist in construction and building, and in the skilled trades. I mean, we look at the those opportunities from going to like a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship into some type of you know skilled trade, and owning your own business
Yeah.
within a relatively few years. The opportunities to do that. I support your thought that I wish we could get to some of the even these middle schools, high schools,
Yeah.
to generate interest with America's youth.
Well, and it's fun because I know I've particularly recently been introduced to a program called Women Building America through one of our partners. Cornerstone is working on that, and it's getting young girls as young as middle school and high school involved in understanding that there's opportunity in construction and in the home building industry. There was also another one. It was they gave a presentation during the professional women in building when we were in Washington, D.C. And I can't think of the name of the group, but it was Job something. They're doing a fabulous thing too. And they are actually connected with NAHB. They have support with the NAHB. And if I could, I'll think about it, and hopefully I can remember, we'll send out a message about that. But it's really neat to see the different organizations coming together to try and solve this problem. And I love seeing that NHB is also providing some support and guidance around that as well.
One last thing, I'd be remiss if I didn't put in a plug for Job Corps.
That's the one that I was looking for, Job Corps.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we were connecting. Job Corps is a program that trains disadvantaged youth, and it is run through also through the Department of Labor, like the Constructs Act would, but it's a $1.76 billion program. And our Home Builders Institute, which is our NAHB's training affiliate, manages the relationship between the Department of Labor and again HBI. And sometimes those funds through the congressional process are challenged.
Mhm.
And we're working, our group of lobbyists are working to make sure that that funding continues, and that we are not shut down. And there's some challenges with this right now, and it is our goal, it's our mission to make sure that the Job Corps funding continues, and even if we have the opportunity to reform the
Mhm.
program or offer some alternatives, but still be eligible for that Job Corps funding.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think that's at least one step in the right direction to get our youth also out of the box of thinking there's only one
Right.
option for them, because not all kids necessarily need a 4-year degree to do what they're doing. They're
That's
very
right.
skilled in something else and should go in that direction and recognize their passion for something like that. Also want to also recognize, you mentioned energy. That is something that I've heard. We have builders that we work with from the West Coast to the East Coast, and it's so
Yeah.
interesting to hear the legislation come across the country and how it impacts each of the the builders and being involved in something like a builder group. It's nice that you're able to gather experience from other builders who are experienced, and so you are prepared for it. But it's a very expensive, it's very laborious. There's so many changes that have to happen inside of a home to be able to accommodate that. And
Right.
sometimes it feels like there's not really a connection between the policy and the things that it's affecting. Would you speak about that?
Yeah,
I don't want to be like,
absolutely.
say like, these guys don't know what they're talking about, but sometimes I feel like there's a disconnect.
There are a number of states that I know, Washington State, I know California, I know New York, but right where you are,
In
imagine in
Colorado, yes.
Colorado,
Mhm.
there's an idea, a concept that an all electric universe is where we need to be, and our industry just disagrees with that. We just think that that isn't the way policymakers should think. All options should be on the table. All fuel options, that is, should be on the table. And in particular, we really want to preserve and protect natural gas and provide our customers with the
Mhm.
opportunity to have a gas furnace, a gas stove, a gas hot water heater.
Right.
Those were threatened in recent regulation. So that's why the bill that has been sponsored by Congressman Langworthy is called the Energy Choice Act.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very and at the state level, I know it is very controversial. States, cities are attempting to make it very difficult for our industry to be able to build to use natural gas.
Oh yeah. Well, and you talked too about all of the different fees and all the things that are happening and that how the impact that it has on the affordability of housing. And I know, for
That's
instance,
right.
here in Colorado, one of our builders was getting a water tap fee and it was $60,000. So you and it's so different from state to state. So it's sometimes we mentioned that when we were on the Hill and he's like, "Wait, what? It's that
Yeah.
much?" And I'm like, yeah, it's really impacting affordability, and it makes it really hard when you have builders who really want to build a home for some of these young people who are coming out of college and getting their first job and looking for that American dream. My son's in that case where there's like this disbelief almost that he's like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to buy a home.
We hear that from congressional staff. That very
Mm.
point. We don't know that we'll ever be able to afford to buy a home with the way. And again, this is very isolated. We're in a kind of a here in the DC metro, Virginia, Maryland area, and so forth. It's very expensive here, cost prohibitive, and it's expensive to build, and the fees, as that you mentioned, in this area, but just in so many parts around the country, um, very difficult for us to build affordable housing right now.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, and all great conversation. I have a couple other questions, but what I'm going to come back to
Sure.
and I'm not going to ask this. I'm going to put this out here now, but I'm not going to ask it yet, if that makes sense. As we're talking, and some of these things feel overwhelming and big for some of our builders, where they're like, these are such big things. So as we're talking, and right when we're getting ready to close up, I do want to come back to how does a builder, small, medium, large, private, public, doesn't matter, how can they help make a difference on some of these topics that we're talking about? But before we get there, I want to ask
Okay.
real quick, how does the NAHB Build Pack and Grassworks Network factor into your strategy?
So Build Pack is our political action committee, and our political action committee takes contributions from our members, and we have a very robust formula that we will work through with our members to determine, which members of Congress are eligible for a Build Pack contribution. If you voted in support of housing, you're likely to receive some type of Build Pack contribution. And the ultimate goal, Emma Jane, we want to see a pro-housing Congress. So the more that we can direct our contributions to members of Congress, members of the Senate,
Mhm.
toward pro-housing policies, that's the goal of BuildPAC. BuildPAC also helps us open doors when we support a candidate that's running in a certain district or in a certain state, to the extent that we can get behind that candidate and support that individual when that individual is elected and they're here and they're ready to vote on
Mhm.
a housing measure. We'd like that member or that senator to reach out to NAHB to say, to ask,
Mhm.
there's a housing bill that's on the floor. How should I vote? What is the NAHB telling me? Or better yet, what is that builder that
Mhm.
that I have that relationship with in Colorado, in New York, in California, in Texas, that supported me, and here I have the opportunity to vote on a housing measure because I believe I believe in this. I believe in this measure. I want to support this. I want to support this industry. That's how BuildPAC helps us. Our grassroots network that you also alluded to,
Mhm.
that is just the pure contact made by an NAHB member on a letter, phone call to a particular member of Congress or senator. Most of our um, members have their members of Congress cell phone on their mobile phone. So I can give them a call to say, hey, the Permit Act, HR 3898, the Constructs Act, the Energy Choice
Mhm.
Act, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is scheduled for a vote on Wednesday. I need you to make a call or send a text saying, encourage that particular member to vote in line with the NAHB position. Our members are well placed to be able to deliver that message. So that's the strength of our Build Pack and our grassroots network.
Wow. So I'm going to I'm getting close to wrapping it up here, but I think what I want to go to is straight to that conversation. My I was lucky this year to attend the spring board meeting and go participate on the Hill. It was an amazing experience. I want to do it over and over again.
Well, thank you.
Just
We'd love to see you. We'd love
oh,
to see
well,
you
I will
next
be there
year.
next summer for sure. It was just really I think so many times we just get busy in our day to day, which I think is true for anybody. We're a small business. Most of our builders are small businesses. Truly, they start off as small businesses, and they are busy in the day to day
Yeah.
and have a hard time getting up and out of their day to day. But on a lot of the measures that impact what's possible in their day to day is happening outside of their business. And so what are some things like for me being there this summer, it really opened my eyes to see how important it is for everybody to have an understanding of what they can do and
Yeah.
what's possible. So share a little bit about what the purpose of the day on the Hill is and how people can get involved in that and why it's important.
So a little bit about the day on Capitol Hill, which was, I believe, Wednesday, June 11. Um, we had over 1,000 builders, suppliers, um, everyone connected. Whether you're a single family builder, you're a multifamily builder, you're a supplier, you're an associate. You, in one way or another, are connected to the housing industry. And we went to Capitol Hill. We had, I don't even know what the total tally of meetings that we had that day, but and I should say we had over 100 more members participating this year than we did last year, and 100 more than we had the year before. So I think our members are excited about the opportunity. It's a little nervous at the
Mhm.
at the beginning when you go in and you're actually sitting around a conference table with four or five, who knows, other of your peers to talk to a particular member about why they need to vote for a tax bill. And it might be intimidating at first, but if you're not there, there's an old saying that if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And it's so
Mm,
important for our builders who I think at sometimes feel they underestimate their level of importance in the political process, and getting out and participating in things like days on Capitol Hill, um, are it's so valuable for that member of Congress or senator to hear from his or her constituent. There's
mhm,
just nothing. I mean, I love doing it. I love going to Capitol Hill and uh, going to visit with a legislator to talk housing. But there's nobody that's more important in this process than the actual constituent,
mhm,
because that individual is the voter, and that voter has, in our case, we may have, you know 10, 20, who knows how many employees that could be influenced by that particular member. So it's very important for our members to realize
mhm.
how important a role they play in the process. And we're grateful for all of those that showed up, and we hope we can have more next year, because it's a great time to talk about policies that advance the American dream.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think what's eye-opening too, which I mean, you don't really think about you when you're sitting in your own little world, is how much knowledge those people have to have when they go in to make a vote. They're not
That's
just
right.
like we're just looking at home building, but they're looking at every industry that impacts their constituents. And so for them to have 100 more people this year than last year talking to
Right.
them and giving them their stories, now they have that much more knowledge about what they're voting about. And so it closes that disconnect, I would imagine, for who's working on Capitol Hill, because now they have true knowledge. They've talked to the real people who are doing the work and giving them their stories so they can go back to make their vote, and they have power behind that because they have knowledge and wisdom and experience that they can share through their vote.
To your point, Emma Jane, we have members of Congress and senators who are doctors and lawyers and plumbers and other positions that exist. Many do not possess a housing knowledge, a housing
Mhm.
background. So when we can educate them on the impact of a tariff, the impact of
Mhm.
immigration policy, the impact of this tax, who better to be able to describe it than the actual builder? So that's why our voice is so important, and that's why I encourage all of those that are listening today to really participate as much as possible in the political process. It sounds like it's a lot, but the reality, and as much as I want to see as many builders as possible during our next year's legislative conference, you can participate just by sending a letter to your member of Congress, making a phone call to the office. And it doesn't always have to be here in DC. Many of these members and senators have district offices that you can engage with. And but I encourage as much as possible. I feel like it's your duty as a leader in the housing industry
Mhm.
to participate in the process to make this industry even better than it is today.
Oh, and you answered my question because I was going to say, what can we do, not just on a national level, but even in a local level? Because
Yeah.
um, I feel like a lot of times people think, oh, I can't do anything if I can't do it at the national level. But I feel like a lot of that stuff starts local. Like it starts in your community, and then it's your little city, and then it's your town, and then it's your state, and then it grows from the bottom up. Wouldn't Is that the case where some of
I
these things start
absolutely
at the bottom and work their way all the way up to national? So how do we make a difference at the beginning?
Absolutely. So for NAHB, I just for a commercial here, we have nearly 700 state and local associations around the country to do exactly what you just described. We have our members are involved and sit on city councils, and they sit. I know in one state in particular, there's so many builders in the state legislature in Indiana, I believe, that helps drive policy. Um, City councils, the action. If you look at the bills in Texas, and I think they only meet every other year unless there's a special session called. The amount of bill in the thousands for a relatively short period. So at the state level, at the local level, the activity, the action there is intense for a very short period of time, and we're here in DC. It's a year round thing for us, but getting involved at the local level, getting involved at the state level is key because there's just so much activity that's happening there. And most of our builders, since they're right there, it is a little bit easier for them to participate in their city council, in their in at it's a getting to their state capital to participate in a Capitol Hill Day in one of their states, is easier potentially than coming to Washington to go to Capitol Hill. And so I encourage at all levels. It's so important to be involved. It's so important to support your PAC at the local level, your state level, and then of course at the federal level. So yeah, I encourage as much as possible to and they say what sometimes these laws and policies that are enacted at the local level
Mhm.
or at the state level make their way to Washington,
Yes.
especially those policies to those in California. That is an old saying that what happens in Sacramento actually travels east, and
Yep.
we will end up seeing it here at some point.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, we're closing up here real quickly. If somebody needed more information about how to get involved with the PAC or how to get more involved politically in either at the national level or the state level, is there a place that you can recommend they go to get more information?
The best that I would say two things. First would be on our a selfish plug for NAHB. If you go into our website at nahb.org, there is a blog. Everything that we do, every issue, every we want to keep our members updated, and if something happens, we alert those who are participants in the blog as to those developments. So that's the quickest and easiest way. There is also, Emma Jane, on our nahb.org, there is a way to get educated on the positions of the industry. um, there's plenty of information on the Energy Choice Act and the Constructs Act and the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and permit reform that we are
Mm.
pushing right now. All that information is on our website. But I would be glad to entertain any questions or phone calls. I can my email address is just my first initial L, and the last name is Coulson at nahb.org. So that's probably the easiest to way to reach me. But those other options to get educated on the priority housing issues are on our website. And but never hesitate to give me a call.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much. And final question. What is the
Please.
one thing that you hope that everybody who is watching or listening today got out of our conversation?
Well, it's a great question, and I hope the one thing that I can leave that I hope the listeners here take away from this is that you make a difference, and that I believe that never underestimate your importance in the political process, and your voice does matter.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for continuing to fight for us to continue building the American dream. It gives me goosebumps every time I say that. Grew up in the industry. I just think what we as home builders do and the home building industry does for America is amazing. And nobody else does what we do.
There's
So,
no, and nobody can speak better than about it than we do either.
right.
That's why it's so important to become engaged.
Well, thank you so much, Lake. I've appreciated my time with you. So grateful we got to spend this little bit of time together today. I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And thank you all for taking the time to spend with us today. I hope you make an effort to get out there and make a difference in your communities and even at a national level, wherever you find a calling. But like Lake said, it's really important for all of us to make a difference in this industry to get our voices heard. So thank you again for joining us for the Builder of Choice. We look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you. Thanks, Emma Jane.